Order. We will commence with Senator Williams. Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr President. Mr President, I've been fortunate in my life to have 3 honours bestowed on me. First was to be made a life member of the Apex Club of Sapphire City Apex in Inverell. Sadly, Apex is waning throughout Australia. The second honour bestowed on me was back in 2006 when the New South Wales National Party Central Council pre-selected me #1 ticket on their Senate ticket, and hence to be elected at the 2007 election as the 532nd Australian elected to the Senate since 1901. Mr President, the third honour bestowed on me was to have a cricket ground named after me in Perth called the Wacker. Well, it's worth a try. I'll check with Peter Taylor later on. I'm glad to have contributed to my time here, almost 11 years, Mr President. When I first started, we received a $4,800 a year increase in our payment for our electoral allowance. I thought, well, I could live without that. So I donated each year to a rural dental scholarship for someone from a regional area going to do a dentistry degree their first year, in the hope that they would return to regional areas and increase the number of dentists out there. It's been a very successful program, and each and every one that's come forward have done very well, and something like 6 or 7 have completed their degrees and are now practising dentistry in regional Australia. Could I thank the National Rural Health Alliance for the management of that scholarship, and Jerry Malone, who's here today, that I went to school with back in Jamestown back in the early 1960s. Mr President, could I thank also one of the great jobs I've had here has been to be able to chair the Parliamentary Friendship Group between Australia and Ireland. And I thank Your Excellency Brendan O'Qualley and his wife Carmen for being here today. It's been a wonderful time to meet you, to have something to do with you, and I hope one day we can visit your country. Over the almost 11 years, Mr President, I've been pleased to play a role in many things. I remember back in January 2009, I'd been a senator for 7 months, and I was called up to Redcliffe in Brisbane to meet with the victims of Storm Financial. It was not a pretty picture, I can assure you. People 65, 75, even older, worked all their life, saved, but got some advice in finance and invested in Storm Financial, and looked like being kicked out onto the street from their houses. Way past their working life, could not rebuild. From that, all I could promise them was a parliamentary inquiry, which we had, the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Finance and Financial Services and Corporations. Now that come to FOFA laws, chaired by what was his name? Bernie Rippole, that's the bloke. Sorry, Bernie, forgot your name. Terrible on names, I am. The one sad thing about the Senate here, I see, Mr President, is that it works a lot better than the public thinks. When the public looks at the TV, they see hand grenades being thrown around the chamber, a bitter atmosphere. It is not like that at all. We work closely together on our committee work and have achieved so much. I remember when I launched a banking inquiry back in 2011. We were in the Parliament House in Sydney, in Macquarie Street, and I asked one of the bank chiefs, why did your bank give a 30-year loan to a 97-year-old lady who's in an aged care facility? Strange enough, this senator with a strong Scottish accent interjected, which is pretty rare in this place. He said, "How old you say she was, Senator Williams?" I said, 97, Senator Cameron. He said, "Must be a bloody good aged care facility." The bank manager went to jail for 6 months. In 2009, I launched the Liquidators Inquiry. I see they're in the headlines again today. We had full unified recommendations. Sadly, nothing was done for many years, and I thank Kelly O'Dwyer for bringing those changes in now. We had one liquidator who did not have a very good reputation. Car Lovers, a Malaysian car wash company he was in charge of. He took overseas trips. He took his kids overseas, went on holidays, etc. He also spent 3 years in jail when we finished with him. And it took Car Lovers $1.8 million to fight in the courts to have him removed. Now, with the majority vote and value of the creditors, just one meeting, the liquidators can be removed, so that's made them sharpen their pencil and hopefully do their job better. I remember going to a meeting in Sydney, invited there by a bloke by the name of Mr Jeff Morris, where we had an interesting chat about financial planning. I'll talk more about that later on. We not long ago completed the life insurance inquiry, and there's certainly some work to do there, but I'm glad to see the FSC has adopted virtually every inquiry that they can do in relation to life insurance. Of course, I pushed for a Royal Commission for many years, and that's been just wound up, and I have more to say about that soon as well. But the best of the Senate is when the committees are working together, and I'll talk about our franchise inquiry before I finish as well. I remember after meeting with Jeff Morris, whistleblower from Commonwealth Financial Planning, we're in Senate estimates, and I asked a question to ASIC. I said, why did it take you 16 months to act on the whistleblowers from the Commonwealth Bank, the ferrets? We got a strange answer which was nowhere near the answer. So I repeated the question again, and once again no answer. I turned to the then Chair Mark Bishop, West Australian Labor Senator, and I said, Chair, how do you get these people to answer a question? Talking about Senator Cameron, and his staff member said, hey Dougie, they belt and whack her up. So Senator Cameron came up to the committee room, said to me, I'm coming in to help you out, mate. He put a few questions to ASIC in probably a more firmer way than I did. When we finished that question session and Senator Cameron had read the Riot Act, he said to me, Wacker, we should have an inquiry into ASIC. I said, good idea. It was Senator Cameron's idea. We launched the inquiry. Now that came Macquarie Private Wealth and the whole financial planning systems that we could see were so wrong. It was chaired by Mark Bishop, good fellow from West Australia, good bloke who did a good job. And we recommended a Royal Commission. That's when the Royal Commission was recommended by a committee, when we had the inquiry into ASIC. And now it's a bit sad to see the politics being played, but if both sides of the chamber had listened to that recommendation back in those days in 2014, we would have achieved a lot more, a lot sooner. However, as they say, better late than never. Things I've happened to achieve probably people would not be familiar with. The Personal Property Securities Act. We had a Personal Property Security Register. Probably means nothing to the people of Australia. But hire companies would hire their machinery out of their equipment, and if they hired it for longer than 12 months, they'd have to register it on the Personal Property Securities Register. If they made one-digit mistake on the ABN or ACN number or anything on the date, it was invalid. If the company who had hired their equipment went broke, the receivers and the banks could take their equipment, and the hire companies actually lost their equipment. Glad to be part of getting that changed, where it's now out to 2 years and put some relief on the industry as it is now. But can I say, Mr President, the best work we do in the Senate here, people never know about. It's the work we do behind the scenes, working with people, solving problems, and I think that's part of politics. Solve as many problems as you can for the people you represent. Mr President, I've had a very fortunate life when I look back at his family history. My grandfather, Eric, served on the battlefields of France. My late father, Reg, was a rear gunner and Lancaster bomber. Apparently not a very good job at all. I was a fortunate generation where I never had to go to war. Perhaps the only wars I've fought are in this building. Had a few wins, had a few losses. Mr President, I have a long list of thank yous to go through here. Can I start by our clerk, Richard Pye, and your staff? Magnificent people who work hard, very well respected, and thank you, Richard, Maureen, Tim, Jane, Jackie, all the crew for your wonderful work you do. Your advice is always spot on. You're always very relaxed. And of course, we needed your advice big time in a recent inquiry with the franchise industry, where Senator Ketter, Senator Wish Wilson, Senator Deb O'Neill and I were involved in this hearing. It was the first time in 10.5 years we actually had to summons a witness, Mr Tony Alford from Retail Food Group. When we wrote to Mr Alford and Miss Atkinson and said we have the power to summons you, the reply was, if you summons us, we'll take you to the High Court. Well, it united the committee like never before. Each and every one of us right around the political scene ganged up and said we won't be pushed about. We put the summons on them and they took us to the High Court. They ran second, and there are no second prizes in court decisions. and it reaffirmed that we do have the power to summons people. And the franchise industry has been a big inquiry. We will report very soon. There's a lot of repair to do there. And we've had a lot of inquiries in the franchise industry since the mid-70s. Because we're doing it again proves we've never got it right. And I hope when that inquiry is handed down and the election's out the road, government acts on it and acts on it quickly. The friendship built through the committee work is unbelievable. And as I said, it's a sad perception that in this chamber we seem to be all enemies. That is not the case. In fact, I remember when we had our induction into here, our training before we were sworn in, they said some of your best friends will be on the other side. How true that is. As I said, I have a long list of thank yous. To the chamber staff, John, Adrian, Brian, Fiona, Rosemary, Commodore Wally, thank you for your great work and helping us all the time. To the Comcar drivers that we get spoilt rotten with, to the security people around here that keep us safe in this building. Sadly, that's the case these days. You need a lot of security. I want to make special thank you to the bank representation. I've worked closely with the banks. People might think I'm the bank's enemy. No, I'm not. And I think the banks have worked closely with me. Aaron Willans, Jade Clark and many others, Rob Londale from ANZ, and I thank them for working with us because we work those problems out behind the scenes. There are no headlines and virtually no costs. And often I say, well, the bank has got it wrong here, but many, many times I say, no, the customer's got it wrong as well. And it's good to be able to sort those problems out behind the closed doors. Could I thank the senators in this place? First of all, to my Liberal colleagues, it's been great to work with you all. I enjoyed your company very much. We've rarely had a disagreement, the very odd one on the odd occasion. Seriously, it's not funny, Mr. Senator McKenzie. You're exaggerating. We've worked very well together and I've enjoyed your friendship and your fellowship very much. To the Nats senators, and before pointing to you crew around here, can I acknowledge former Senator Ron Boswell over there and former Senator Fiona Nash. Great people, Bossie, you're a legend and you've left a great mark in this place and in this country. And a hanky, yes. And to Senator Nash, well, I wonder, Mr President, how many people have sat in this place or the other chamber since 1901 with dual citizenships? Would it be dozens or would it be hundreds? However it came to light, and sadly, former Senator Fiona Nash, we lost you. You're a great mentor to me, a great friend, and I wish you all the best. To my senator colleagues, Leader Nigel Scullion, thanks, mate, for your friendship, your leadership and your guidance. One of your great passions is our first Australian, and you've worked very hard on it. To our Deputy Leader, Senator Bridget McKenzie, you're good at sport, Bridge, and I know you love the portfolio, keen at your sport. From netball to clay duck shooting. I wish you all the best. To Matt Canavan, Senator Canavan, looks like he's not here. Where is he? Behind me. I'm nearly going to call you green bottle, mate.
I thought you might.
Thanks, Matt, for all your great work and friendship as well. And to Steve Martin, great to have you on board from Tasmania. I wish you all the best. And to my good mate, Senator O'Sullivan, I know what you've done, Barry. I know the people you've helped. I know how generous you are. And I thank you very much for your great work for many, many people. Yeah. I'd like to thank the media. I've worked closely. And Mr President, I've had a really good run with the media. There was only once I was in a bit of a jam. Let me explain it to you. I was doing an interview with BBC in London, a bloke by the name of Phil Williams, no relation. It was over 2 illegal immigrants. Their names were Pistol and Boo. And so this is how it went. On the line we have Senator Williams with us, a good friend of Minister Joyce. Good evening, Senator Williams. Good evening, Phil. Why does Australia have such strict quarantine? Well, you know the spill. We're a clean, green country, a big food exporting country. We need to keep the diseases out and so on. Then he played it, the tape. Let me play what your minister said, Minister Joyce. Well, as far as I'm concerned, Pistol and Boo can bugger off back to the States. I thought, what am I going to say here? He said, Senator, is that how ministers speak in the Australian Parliament? I scratched my head. I said, "Oh, you must remember one thing, Phil, and never forget it. The English invented the English language, but Australia perfected it." At that he burst out laughing. I got out of jail from that wedge. Can I thank the media I've worked with? Now I'm going to start with the important media, the really important media. Ando at Radio 2VM and Moree. Talk to you all the time, Ando, you're a great fella, and we never played politics, we simply got the message out that people need to learn about things that are changing here. To Radio 2AD, Pete Raymond and his team in Armidale. To Inverell Radio, and actually we've been broadcast live on 91.9 FM radio now in Inverell. To Jerry Tavera, John Shaw and the crew up there, thank you very much for your time, support, and the way that the media helps us get the message out of what we're doing. To the ABC, both at Tamworth, Regional Tamworth and Muswellbrook, thank you for your great work. It's always been a pleasure to talk to you, and to Prime and NBN in Tamworth. Can I thank many in the media here in Parliament House? We've become good friends, and I think you've been very fair to me, but I think the reason you're fair to me is I just answered the question. I remember I was doing an interview with Patricia Cavalis one day, ABC Radio. I was on a tractor, so I had to talk to her at 5:05. So I set my alarm for 5 o'clock to turn the tractor off, cool it down, cool the turbo down, turned off, and at 5:05 the phone rang. And the question went something like this: "Well, Senator, what's the government doing about that?" I said, "I don't know." She said, "But you're part of the government." I said, "I don't talk to the Prime Minister every morning, he doesn't ring me first up." I said, "Would you like me to make something up?" At that she laughed, and we've been pretty good friends ever since. So the message is, tell the truth all the time and you'll get a good run, folks. Can I thank my friends in the media? I can't name you all, but you know who I'm talking about. Joe Kelly, Sabra Lane, Lane Calcott, Phil Corey, Mark Riley, many of you here. You've been very kind to me. We've become good friends and I've enjoyed your friendship. And thank you for never ringing me after party room meetings because you knew I wouldn't talk to you anyway. When it comes to media, can I please thank the great team at Sky, David Spears, my good friend Janine Perrott here today out from Sydney. Thank you, Janine. Sorry Paul Murray couldn't make it, it's late scratching, and Ross Greenwood as well. Could I thank my great mate Piers Ackerman. One of these jobs you get to meet some great people, and Piers Ackerman, you're one of them. When I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, Mr President, Piers Ackerman went along to Parkinson's conference to find out what he could learn about the disease to help me. That's testimony of what sort of a man him and his wife Susan are. But one of the great things Piers Ackerman did was many years ago in Adelaide, at the Adelaide Advertiser, he gave a young lady a start in the media. Her name is Adele Ferguson, AM. And Adele, we've done a lot of work together and we've achieved a lot together, and thank you for being here today with Christian, Emma, your daughter, and they cherish the memories. So, as Adele said to me, when the media and politics teams up, it becomes very powerful. When I first met with Jeff Morris, the whistleblower from Commonwealth Financial Planning, he said, "Senator, what should we do?" I said, "I think you should give it to the media." He said, "Do you know anyone?" I said, "Yes, I do." I handed the story to Adele Ferguson, 900 pages for her to read. Out of that came some changes for the betterment of all Australia, and a gold Walkley Award to Adele Ferguson. Well done. You're going to have to extend your house soon, Adele, to fit all the awards in. Can I thank the Inverell community? Been great supporters of mine, been very good to me. We've got a serious fire up there today. It's burned about 15,000 acres in the Tingra area. I hope everyone is safe and I hope they get on top of it. I need to thank my staff, Mr President. Now, when I started on the 1st of July 2008, I had 4 staff, full-time staff: Greg Cachel, Debbie Cachel, his wife, Heather Morris and Gary Lemrock. Here we are nearly 11 years later, and my 4 full-time staff are Greg Cachel, his wife Debbie Cachel, Heather Morris and Gary Lemrock. Now that means I'm either a pretty good boss or jobs are bloody scarce in Inverell, one of the two. But people know what Greg's like. He works hard. He can ring my office in Inverell at 7 o'clock in the morning. Greg's there to answer every weekday. Everyone in the building knows Greg, how reliable he is, gets back to you all the time. Thank you, Greg, for your great work, your mentoring and slowing my speech down when we first got here. And you'll hear Greg on the race calling on Sky races often. We'll now cross to Inverell to Greg Cates or Moree or wherever he's calling races. That great race caller, great talent. 32 years in radio, including 18 years as manager. I think the best scalp I ever got was getting you to come with me, mate. Thank you for your great work. To Debbie, your wife, thank you for all your filling in the diary, telling me where to go, literally. Deb's good at that. The diary I lived on, and Deb kept up to date. She also got very well known with immigration issues, and any immigration issue went straight to Deb. To Heather Morris, former Commonwealth Bank staffer, thank you for keeping me out of the front pages for not doing the wrong travel claims and all the other things we have to go through. You're an expert at that. And to Gary Lemrock, Gary did all my internet website and all the work for communications. And when I got equal first with Barnaby Joyce for the best communicator, that was you, Gary Lemrock. It's a great scheme, Mr President. They do the work, I get the praise. How better does it get than that? To Lynn Bull and my casual staffer, Lynn, thank you for all your work and support. I've been blessed to have the same staff. I think it'd be a record of the 226 politicians in this building. Who can say they have the same 4 full-time staff as when they started nearly 11 years ago? So I'm very proud of that. Where are we up to? So I thank the people so much for attending today. People have travelled a long way. My sister Pauline and husband Lee from Perth, my brother Peter and wife Carol from Inverell. To my good friends from South Australia, we've been friends for many years. Michael Kelly, we met in 1960, become mates. We played football together, we played tennis together. He was best man at both my weddings. But you won't be getting a hat-trick, matey, I can assure you of that. To Bill Hoffman, Greg Boston, Rick Kelly, Liz Kelly, and many have travelled. To people from Inverell have travelled down here. Thank you so much for being here as part as I say goodbye to the Senate. To my family, it's great to have my eldest son David here and wife Tammy, with your 3 grandsons, Finn, my 3 grandsons I should say, Finn, Ryan and Jack's in my office. Wonderful to have you here. To have my daughter Becky here with your newborn 2-month-old little boy Lewis. I'm sorry your husband Pat couldn't make it, and the 2 girls Ella and Lucy, but we'll catch up with them soon. And my youngest son Tom and your wife Dr Sarah Williams, I must add, and your little girl Claudia, 5 months old. Great to have you here. Thank you so much for your support and understanding. And now to my wife Nancy. Thank you for your unending support, your understanding. I look forward to getting home and spending every minute with you for the rest of my life. And that Mr President, that stumps. Good luck, everyone. Keep well.
Thank you, Senators. If I could ask, I'll give Senator Williams a moment to speak to visiting colleagues. We have one more valedictory statement to hear.